Welcome back to another episode of Seduce Me. I can't wait to find out what happens today. Come along and play with me. I slowly opened my eyes, letting the voices of my dreams echo in my head and force me awake. I rubbed my eyes before sitting up and looking at my clock. 7 a.m. Why am I up so early? I fell back out into the bed and closed my eyes, trying to get back to sleep. However, something kept me awake. Why? It was too early to even be alive. I gave up, sat up, and stared at the fireplace across from my bed. A sigh escaped from my lips before I threw my legs over the side of the bed. What to do at 7 o'clock in the morning? Make some coffee, work on homework, or explore the house. Since I'm not a coffee person, I'm not going to make coffee. 7 o'clock on a Sunday morning, we're not going to do homework. We're going to explore the house. I decided it was a good idea to wander around the house. I never really explored it much as a child, so we were bound to all the new surprises. Well, come on, feet, let's go on an adventure. I stood and exited my room, hoping that the boys were still asleep. I began to wander the halls on my end of the house, opening each door to find what each room and each door led to. Quickly I found an old office, a desk and a chair, set by the far side of a large bookshelf of documents and memorabilia doned in the nooks and crannies. There were a couple of pictures of me growing up peeking from shelves as I walked further into the room. I don't believe I've been in here before. I tried to recall memories of ever seeing this room, coming up with nothing as a result. This room was new to me. Did I want to disturb the furniture? I'm curious. I gently opened the shelves and any drawers I saw in the room. In a couple of them there were books and even sewing kits. I assumed that they were used for my grandfather's toys, so I left them alone. One drawer, however, was locked, no matter how many times I pulled. Come on, open! Nothing. It would not budge. The drawer beside it did, though, revealing a laptop. Why is there a laptop in the drawer? I lifted it up from the drawer and carried it over to the desk and chair. Opening it, it was a high-tech laptop that had a retina scanner as a password. I was not sure whether or not to try and unlock it or not. I may as well try. I decided to try and turned on the computer and leaned my face near the retina scanner, lining my camera up with the eye. To my surprise, I heard a ping come from the computer before the screen opened up the desktop. Huh. Look at that. On the desktop, there were documents and folders labeled with different aspects of the Anderson Company. Taxes, profits, bylaws, products. The list went on and on and on. If I really did want to become CEO of the Anderson Toy Company, I had everything about it at my fingertips. Dad would sure be impressed. One icon, however, stood out from the rest. Vorigo. I double-clicked the icon, but no window came up. Instead, I heard a large click come from the drawer that was locked. What the? I slowly left my seat and walked over to the drawer, attempting to open it again. It slid open smoothly in the direction of my pulling hand, revealing two books. One was a plain black journal with a tie to keep it closed. The other was bound in leather with cryptic symbols all over the covers. I took out the journal and skimmed through it, seeing my grandfather's notes. They were all detailed explanations and opinions on findings of demon magic. He really did know about magic. I sat down at the desk and read through the journal further, finding drawings and sketches of symbols and magic circles, each with their own different meaning and effect. It was oh so fascinating. There was even a page of important spells to know. I read through them, trying to memorize them into my mind. I didn't know what came over me, but I started to feel more energetic and more powerful, simply reading my grandfather's notes. I was suddenly aware of the energy that surrounded my body and the power that was around my house. The more I read, the more powerful I became. However, my mind suddenly froze and I found myself walking back to the drawer, putting the book back and closing the drawer. The lock reset and I snapped out of it. Huh? What? I shook my head and looked at the drawer, realizing what I had done. I walked over to the desk and reopened the lock, but suddenly felt the need to stop. Something held me back and I didn't want to pry anymore that I already had. I was curious beyond belief, but I obeyed my thoughts for now. Eventually, I would come back and look into it. Returning to bed, feeling the weight of the morning drag me under my covers, trying to sleep again. I had energy, but I wanted more sleep. It was Sunday, and nothing was happening today. Come on, eyes. Go back to sleep. I shut my eyes and tried to slow my breathing. I looked at my phone to check the time once again. It's noon. It felt like I had slept so much longer. Why is time going so slowly? I sighed and got changed into normal clothing and went out to the main hall and sat on the stairs. Sundays were very boring. However, the muffled sounds of battle caught my attention. Huh? I quickly went to the backyard in response to the noise I heard. In the yard, all 5 of the boys were practicing fighting. Sam was in the middle of the other 4 surrounding him and throwing punches and kicks at him. Sam, being the strongest of the bunch, blocked and dodged each almost masterfully. Let's disturb them. All at once, the boys looked at me, frozen in their movements. I just stood at the doorway staring at them after my outburst. James was the first to break away from the group, stepping towards me.
Good morning. We apologize if we woke you up.
Good morning, it's noon. No, it's fine. I've been awake for a while now. Sorry I interrupted.
It's quite all right. We needed to stop anyway. We don't want to overwork Sam.
Oh, come on. I can handle more than those pity punches.
Your mind seems grateful that we've stopped.
Shut up, Damien.
Oh, crap. We should probably make some lunch. I'm sure you're starving.
I can handle lunch if you'd like. You all seem to be very busy training to beat Malix. I'll take care of it today.
Whoa, seriously?
Yeah, why not? I'm not useless. I do know how to cook and do other stuff too.
Well, no, I wasn't insinuating.
What he means to say is that we'd be really grateful if you could make lunch today.
No problem. As I turned to the kitchen, the boys went back to training. They seemed very determined to get better and to become stronger. Might as well make lunch today. It's been a while since I've cooked. Lunch wasn't particularly hard. I decided to make simple chicken and rice, cold cut sandwiches, or pizza. You know what? Pizza for lunch sounds great. It's always good no matter what time of the day it is. Do we have any? Luckily we had some pizza in the freezer to heat up. Peas Amore baked with love pizza. Had all the makings of a pizza type, including pepperoni, sausage, mushroom, and extra cheese. Just top it, bake it, and serve. I'd have to get more later. I placed the food in the dining room. However, none of the boys were there by the time I brought the final dish out. I carried that dish to the main lobby, catching the boys separating into different rooms of the house. Part of me wanted to go to one in particular. The other part of me wanted to just leave them be and take the food in my hand to my room and eat. Maybe I would go out today, while the boys focused on training. I will find one of them. I quickly rushed back, grab a second food dish before hunting down one of the boys. I returned to the backyard, hoping to find an encompass still there. Luckily, my gut feeling was right. Erik was beside the gazebo, looking at a small flower that was growing on the railing of it. As I approached, Erik turned his head and smiled his usual smile.
Hello, Princess.
Hey, Erik, I got some lunch for you.
Really? You did not have to do that, Princess.
No, it's fine. Here. Erik smiled and took the food, eating a bit before looking to the flower again. Out of curiosity, I looked as well. It was a simple white daisy in full bloom. Erik shook his head and chuckled softly as I joined in him with the flower gazing.
Sorry, I was simply reminded of home.
Huh? Oh no, you're fine. What about home were you reminded of? Erik looked to the sky with a soft sigh and smile before looking at the flower again.
The castle, mainly. Despite us not being there anymore, it was still our home. We grew up there our entire lives as brothers. There wasn't a day that went by when we weren't all doing something exciting. It wasn't empty excitement, of course, but it was still something that bonded us all together.
Erik slightly trailed off, looking lost in the nostalgia of his thoughts. I didn't know if I wanted to bother him while he remembered something so obviously so important to him. Tell me more? Erik turned again to me with a slightly surprised look.
You wish to know more?
Why not? I'm really curious about the place you lived in. He nodded before looking at the flower again. After a second, he gained a look of realization before looking to me again.
Would you like me to show you something instead?
I tilted my head in confusion, but nodded nonetheless. What was I expecting? Could not have prepared me for what I saw. Erik gently brushed his fingers against the petals of the daisy, making it gently quake at his touch. As the daisy abnormally shivered, its petals shifted from white to purple. The yellow center faded into a pink hue as the stem began to burn black. I could only stare as Erik plucked the flower from its place and presented it to me.
Watch closely.
I kept my eyes to the flower as Erik began to mutter something. It sounded close to Latin, but I wasn't sure. Regardless, the flower began to glow in Erik's hand. Small crystal-like spores floated up from the pink center and began to form a circle in the air. As the circle closed, the center filled with smoke, forming a screen of some sorts. It was misty, so I couldn't see anything. What is this?
Just watch.
I raised an eyebrow, but followed his instructions. Eventually, the mist faded away, revealing a large throne room. It was all stone and tile, with the throne itself covered in red fabric and golden metal. Despite it being a mere image in a magic mirror, I felt small looking at the sign of this throne room. Wow, that looks amazing.
That's our castle. It's a wonderful place. Servants and parties galore.
Does your father sit on the throne when he's at the parties?
Very much so. He despises dancing and socializing, so he makes the throne his home.
Do you think he's still there now? I must have struck a small chord with Erik because he hesitated before responding. He only smiled slightly.
We don't know. When we left, we didn't look back. However, we are sure he's still there, since no one followed us out of the Abyssal Plains.
I bit my lip. Maybe I shouldn't have asked. I felt really bad. I didn't feel it for long, though. The magic suddenly stopped and faded away while Erik dropped the daisy, and the daisy turned back to white and yellow color. Erik dropped to his knee, growing in pain. Are you all right?
Yes, Princess. I'm fine. I just used too much energy, that's all.
I dropped to a knee and tried to examine Erik closer. His face was pale while his purplish eyes shifted back and forth between purple and gold. His breath was heavy, which concerned me. He used too much energy. That meant he needed more.
Please don't worry, Princess. I'm fine. Don't worry your beautiful head about it.
I felt responsible. I had to help. I quickly grabbed Erik's face and tilted his head at an angle with mine. Shifting myself closer, I brought my lips to him and kissed him deeply. I didn't know if this would help, but it's how he got energy before. I shut my eyes and waited for the draining feeling to reappear in my body. However, he grabbed my shoulders and forced me back. I opened my eyes and stared into his frightened golden eyes in surprise. At the same time, I noticed a pink hue run across his face.
Princess? What are you doing?
I don't know why. I felt both irritated and accomplished at the question and the look that he was giving me. Where was his flirting? Where was his cocky smirk? From what I remembered, he took advantage of me when we met, but yet now he was acting inferior. I grabbed his hands and removed them from my shoulders, tangling my fingers with his. I'm trying to help you and give you some of my energy. You used your energy to show me that sight, and I want to pay you back for that, unless you don't want me to help.
Well, I've already taken your energy once before.
That was before. I want to give you the energy now. Please, just let me. All of a sudden, I felt a familiar feeling of warmth run through my body once again. I felt my body slightly heat up as Erik quickly released his hands and wrapped them around my waist. He stared at me with desire as he pulled my body close to his. Erik leaned his forehead to mine, letting the tips of our noses gently caress each other as he spoke.
You spoiled me.
Before I knew it, I was on top of Erik as he laid on the grass below. I stared wide-eyed as he pulled me into a hot and passionate kiss with a gentle hand on the back of my head. Erik's other hand rested on the small of my back while I rested my hands on his chest. I moved myself to straddle his hips and be comfortable in his kiss. The energy from my body was slowly draining, making me feel very lightheaded and warm. It was almost pitiful how comfortable and how willing I was in the situation. Still, I had no regrets. I was enjoying every bit of this kiss. While Erik helped me, he gently rolled us both over so he was on top of me, kissing me hotly and holding me tightly. I was very tempted to wrap my legs around him, but I remained focused on the kiss. It was better I was on the bottom anyways, with my energy slowly fading from my body. However, the draining feeling suddenly stopped as Erik pulled away and looked down at me. I stared up at him as we both panted for air. I had never kissed like that before, and I was so lost in the moment that I had forgotten how to breathe. Erik, however, didn't move from me, but he moved a strand of hair from my face, eyes still full of desire.
I'm completely full, and yet I still desire you.
I could feel the hold of his mind-altering spell fade away, but I still felt hot. Something told me that I wanted more, but at the same time, I wasn't sure if I truly wanted to give any more. I opened the opportunity, and I was enjoying it as much as he was. I wanted more, and I was going to let him keep going. I wanted to keep going. I reached up and pulled him down and kissed him, giving him the silent approval to keep going. I could feel him pull the tail of my bow, releasing it and following his hand from around my neck. He moved the ribbon to the ground beside me and gently unbuttoned the top button of my blouse, stopping at the buttons above my stomach. The desire around my body drove me insane, forcing a moan to escape my lips as he ran kisses from my lips to my exposed neck. As he began to ravish my neck and shoulders, I leaned my head back along the grass and let a pleasurable sigh escape my lips. He was ruthless, as his passionate kisses were on my skin. He didn't stop touching me or kissing me, and making more moans and gasps rushed out of my mouth into the open air. He was full of energy, but he was just as hot as I was. I couldn't even comprehend how much time we spent making out. I was so lost in the moment that I didn't care. Call it sinful. I didn't care. I loved it. I desired it beyond much anything at that moment. He even lowered his kisses down to my chest right above my bra. My heart was beating very wildly in my chest. Something about Erik intrigued me immensely, but something made my heart quicken for him. It couldn't have been loved. It was too passionate to be lust. What was it? However, I began to feel dizzy, and seeing the sky start to spin almost wildly, I gripped onto Erik's shoulders, trying to signal to him to stop, but my mind faded to black before I can let out another sound. It felt good. I didn't care that I blacked out. I felt warm and fuzzy in the darkness. I never knew indulging in that kind of passion would be good for me. I just now waited to awaken, and hopefully in a good way. My eyes eventually fluttered open, adjusting to the new sight around me. I felt the familiar silk underneath me, letting me know that I was in my bed. I slowly sat up, stretching from the tiredness that still lingered. I felt a very soft pain on my neck and shoulders, and I could feel the swollen lips pulse gently in healing. However, when I looked down at my body, I saw that my shirt had been pulled back up and rebuttoned, as if nothing happened, and I was just missing my ribbon. Before I turned to get out of bed, though, I spotted my ribbon on the pillow beside the one I slept on. It was tied in a nice bow around the daisy Erik had picked up with a small note attached to it. I gently slipped the note from the tie and opened it up and read it.
You've spoiled me, my princess. I am eternally grateful that you let me indulge like that. Have a good rest.
I stared at the note, letting a small smile grace my lips. Spoiled him. I enjoyed it despite the first-time circumstances. It was cute, though, to imagine him thanking me for something we both did and enjoyed. I brought the daisy to my nose and gently inhaled its soft fragrance, letting the memory of our meeting flood my mind. I indulged myself too, Erik. I looked at the time out of curiosity. The large white numbers on my phone showed 5:51 or 5:31. Yikes! 4 hours of being knocked out and I still feel tired. It was Sunday, so I was allowed to sleep in longer if I wanted to. The remainder of the night passed by surprisingly uneventful. The boys continued to train with each other, but were kind enough to stop and make me dinner, and I was really glad for that. Unsurprisingly, the food was perfect, and it felt a little empty without the boys to eat with me, but they most likely already eaten, but still, I felt lonely. I couldn't let it bother me. I ate and went back to my room to study and sleep. Surprisingly, it felt good going to bed that night. I felt like I could have had a peaceful sleep, unlike the other previous rough nights I've had. It felt good. I drifted asleep and woke up almost flawlessly the next morning. No grogginess, no aches, perfectly energized, and bright-eyed. Man, how long has it been since I've gotten that much good sleep? I looked at my alarm clock. I woke up 10 minutes before my alarm. Well, hey, I must be lucky today. Karma owed me some luck. After all I had gone through it in merely a handful of days, I deserved to get some good luck. Ecstatic for the day ahead, I turned off my alarm before they can ring and got dressed. However, my phone quickly started to buzz from an incoming text. Wow, today's episode was crazy. Who would have thought that would have happened to us? Make sure you join us tomorrow. We have a lot more fun planned.